Hi, Gautam and Doel. Lovely to connect. It's such a pleasure to have you on the series, and I'm delighted to be introducing you to everyone. Gautam and Doel are both filmmakers and work on wildlife and environment films. They have a really interesting story to tell, and I'm going to leave them to tell you their story in their words. Over to you.
Well, thanks for having us. Really excited for this, and what fun to be. I mean, minus the pandemic behind all of this, but what fun to be connecting with so many people through webinars and virtual chats, and just a different way of telling stories as well. And that's been our work mostly. I think is just trying to tell stories and trying to make people care, trying to get attention sometimes to just environmental issues, things like that, like the Bang Valley, all the terrible projects going on. So I think we're filmmakers by profession, but I think we're in the whole storytelling business maybe. Not too much of a business though, unfortunately. What do you think?
I find it very hard to talk about myself and our work, so I always hide behind the larger idea of what RIVERBANK does and how it started. RIVERBANK, as you know, our company was started by Mike Pandey, and the way, just telling it straight and not hiding behind, and not going around the story. And so I think that has been the core responsibility we feel at RIVERBANK, is that find a story, tell it in a good way. And now we are finding now that there's so much content out there and everyone's watching online. Now we feel challenged and excited actually to tell stories in a more entertaining way maybe. So I think that's the goal going forward, is to find newer audiences to watch the conservation stories that we have to tell.
Documentaries have this, this happa of being pedantic and boring and just too information heavy. And I'll admit, I don't watch too many documentaries either. Only ones which, if I don't feel like switching it off in the first 5 minutes. So, and I think a lot of documentary filmmakers have woken up to that, and we can see, on platforms like Netflix, there are different ways of engaging people in telling stories and audiences, and I think we should be learning from them, even from the way fiction stories are being told. So hope to give you a little glimpse into what we've been up to, and a couple of films we finished recently was 360 in VR, and we tried making a snow leopard film, and we'll just give you a glimpse into that as well.
Sounds amazing. I can't. Okay, so let's see the presentation.
Okay, so Shan is a snow leopard in Ladakhi, as you know already. And I think one of the things, at least thoughts that both of us had while going in trying to do snow leopard films, was to move away from the ghost of the mountains. Because there's a whole, I never really liked that term too much, so we kept thinking of different ways of trying to talk about snow leopards and not just leaning to the ghost of the mountains. So I'm still trying. So the one we filmed, we gave her a name, Gyamo, and we called her the Queen of the Mountains. And I thought the secretive one also works pretty well for snow leopards. So, and I would say it's definitely in the top 3 most secretive animals that we've tried to make a film on. Another one is the western tragopan. That might be harder than the snow leopard actually.
I think that was harder.
We spent 2 years trying to film it, and we got like one shaky shot and one really grainy camera trap image, and we've lost part of ourselves in that forest somewhere. This is in GHNP. So this was the view that everyone sees when they take that flight into Ladakh, and I remember thinking that there must be a snow leopard down there somewhere, and you obviously can't see it. And then you see how large this landscape is, and there's this real feeling of it, we're never going to find it. And you really have to believe in luck, and you look at each stupa as you drive past, wishing if some good karma rubs off as you go into this amazing landscape. So because snow leopards were, I think the year we started, snow leopards had become common like that. Like everyone seemed to be working on a snow leopard film. So we decided to work on the Himalayan lynx, and we did a lot of research, went looking for locations. A friend of ours stands in. We had only one camera trap at that point, so I gave him that camera trap, and his sister, is a shepherdess, and she had told him that, I've seen a lynx, E in Ladakhi. I love that name. And so he said that, well, if you give it to me, I'll try. She says that it lives in this on this mountain. I said, wow, that might even be a den over there. So gave him this camera trap, and after months, he sent back this footage, and this is what we got from that footage actually. So these are all false triggers with the camera trap. They're just triggers. So it was just snow melting, and a herd of yak walking past. And we got our first snow leopard shot, and we were disappointed because it wasn't a lynx. but we got a snow leopard shot. So I was like, oh my god! So maybe it is worth giving it a shot. Maybe it's a sign that we should be thinking of snow leopards, and the lynx is so secretive that we still haven't got a shot of the lynx or the lynx. So armed with this great confidence, we went and we bought a few more camera traps, and then we started exploring places to go to, which led us to Ule, a place which you know very well as well, and David Ji, who had been calling us for years, he'll say, to come and have a look. And then Ule is just one of those, the first spot we looked in was just the perfect location.
I mean, all these stories also happened over many, I think over almost a year and a half, 2, where, it all sounds like it all happened in one go, but there was a lot of reading and interest and trying to get to know the habitat, and it wasn't just trying to get that shot. We were also trying to understand this landscape, and David and Stanzin, they were all part of seeing the place from their eyes, because we didn't know it at all. So that was what was so nice, and we became friends in the process with them. And so there was a lot of information just going and coming, and that's what a lot of people don't realize with making films like this, or making any film where you're trying to tell a story beyond just the shot you see, is that there is so much time has been spent that cannot be measured, which has just been studying and understanding and researching and talking to people, and filmmakers spend a lot of time before they pick up the camera to take that first shot.
Yeah, so then armed with more camera traps, which was basically I think one more camera trap, but they were a little expensive back then. so then we now get 2 camera traps. So went back to Ule, and we met Norbu and his family. And
no, before you went there, you were spending weeks just drilling the camera trap and trying to make a safe box for it.
No, that's the later camera.
That was the later camera trap. Okay.
So and then we started placing some camera traps around there, and then we were working with the wildlife department as well. And that's also I think really important to kind of keep everyone in the know, as well when we try and go and do work like this. One is that then people know, and they're not going to steal your camera trap too easily, which is always a risk, in places like India, for sure. Ladakh, much less. We haven't had one stolen yet. One was picked up, but it got returned also. But I think it's just we work like that, and we enjoy working with a larger network of friends and people we love, and who are thinking in the same way that we are. Where, like Doel said, it's not just about the shot, but there's a larger mission at play, and then we need this collective force and critical mass behind it to succeed and reach where it has to reach. So, second camera trap came with again false triggers, as you see. These are all false triggers, and then we got our second snow leopard shot, which was much better than the first one. So, even more excited by this, we started building a story in our heads of how we could not just turn it into like a trophy hunt kind of a film of we going out there to get this, and how do we layer it more. And then as we spent numerous weeks out there going back, meeting people, looking at things besides the snow leopard, which is a natural process. When you're making a documentary film, just looking at all the angles, we started seeing there was much more to the story than just one of the world's rarest cats. So went back in winter, and then I told Norbu that if there is a kill that happens, you just have to tell me. I'm going to figure it out, but I'll get there. So this was in winter when I went up. He called and he's like, "Come fast! It's an ibex. It's not too big. It'll finish in 2 days." So I don't think I've ever booked a ticket that fast in my life. I'm always trying to compare rates or whatever. It's like boom, 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 click, click, click.
It's a result of always working on a very tight budget in India. I mean, that's the reality of it. Unlike all those beautiful images that come out of there is a sense of relaxation with a good budget. You are not thinking about budgets when you're trying to go film something. Unfortunately, we have to have the producer hat on, the artist hat on, the story hat on, all of that in one go, and thinking how much does this ticket cost, while thinking how I'm going to take this shot.
So the producer hat spoke as I was booking the ticket. Are you sure? I mean, what if it's already over by the time you get there? I say, yeah, but... And then I called up Norbu. I said, I need enough reason. I was like, has it snowed? He's like, yes, it snowed. I was like, oh my god, snow leopard in the snow. Pick. Like, it's alone, right? It's like, no, it has 2 cubs. He's like, what? He's like, okay, book the ticket now. Book the ticket, and then of course, acclimatization is a big thing. It is, it's easy to get overconfident after you do a few trips, but I think that's when it hits the worst. And I was just silly. It was also about getting this rare opportunity to film a snow leopard with cubs on an ibex kill in the snow. So I took a calculated risk, and I was, homeopathic medicines and stuff like that to try and take the edge off.
Read as being stupid. The most foolish thing Gautam has done in his wildlife filmmaking career.
Anyway, so we went, and then the kill was there, and the female was right up on the ridge, just like a dot, and you can't really film those things. And then I was set up, and as luck would have it, as she was coming down towards the evening, a group of tourists came, and news spread fast, and there was a lot of shore sharaba happening, and so she basically got disturbed and she left. So this is where I became stupid. So I said, I'm going to spend the night in a hide over there, and I'll be the first one over here, and I'll film her just as dawn is breaking. So the hide was this tent, and it was cold, but I didn't know how cold it would get. And Morup's mother, as I was leaving, she had this great look of concern on her face, and she said, "Ek raat bhi 100 raat lagegi," and that just haunted me. Just as I was leaving. And then she said, and 3:30 बजे हवा चलती है यहाँ पे, अलग तरह की हवा. There's a specific word she had for that हवा. And it was true. At 3:30 a.m. this wind blew, and it would just nothing worked at that point. It was super, super, super cold. But the ibex kill, I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's on the top of the the image right at the top. So I was pretty far away from it. But I had the most amazing night of my life in that height, because around 12 a.m., as I was waiting quietly, I heard the sound around the tent, like, and I thought it must be a fox, but it flipped and it came on the other side, and then all around my tent, and then I realized it's a pack of wolves, and they came, and the sound was everywhere, and I had goosebumps like all over my body, and it took the breath out of me. Completely pitch dark, of course, and they kind of went towards the kill, and it's raining. And as they neared the kill, I heard the snow leopard. She had come down as well, but I never heard her come down. And there was growls and snarling, and this fight broke out between this wolf pack and the snow leopards. Couldn't film a single frame. I'm freaking out in the tent and just like, why don't I have infrared lights? Something to film this. And I had not put camera traps next to it either, so I didn't want to disturb the kill at that point. But that passed, and then around 3:34, this wind came blowing, and when that wind blew, I heard this low growl that came, and I was like, I thought the wolves were back, and they had smelt me, and they were curious and wondering what this is. But the growl went away. Then I moved a bit, and again the growl came. And then I realized the growl was actually from my chest, because I was getting fluid in my lungs that night. And I had a walkie-talkie which didn't work, and I really thought I needed to be evacuated from there. And I realized that if I had changed my position, breathing got a bit easier for whatever reasons. And I managed to spit out a bunch of phlegm, and I felt a bit better, and then I passed out. I think I fell asleep, and then I woke up in the morning, and the kill was there were no snow leopards, but I realized that was a close call for me, and that's where I think I shouldn't have been there alone in the height. I would still do it, but not alone. And so after this eventful, memorable night, these are the only shots I got.
We waited, but she never returned. And that was the last we saw of her.
And that was it. So all this drama, everything happened in boom. So that we have to put this into the film, even though there's, it's just like a half-eaten carcass over there. And then we spent a year, more than a year, I think, just repeated camera tapping, going back, filming whatever we could, different aspects of the story, and then we managed to pitch it to Animal Planet.
Yeah. They were looking for content, and we had been filming for almost 2 years. That's not a year. Including research and all of that. And so they had just enough budget for post-production. So we kind of put our heads together as a team and looked at what we had collected so far and what kind of stories should be told around this footage. And that's where I think we started. And by this time, I think we had also heard Sultan and other people over there telling us how close we realized how close the leopard was coming to human habitation, and and we had spoken to you as well, and some of your lovely shots have been used in the film.
Yeah.
So you had spent so much time. So everyone who had spent time there had realized how close they were coming to human habitation. So that actually triggered us to say that, okay, so let's try and tell the story from Gyamo's eyes, but of this habitat that not much is known about yet, like the oceans.
Yeah.
So I think when the research began, and we found some really dreadful stuff, but I don't know if you want to share that now.
It's there. So I'll just play the trailer of the film, and there's a couple of shots in that as well.
We had an amazing encounter last winter in Ladakh. We placed camera traps around the kill and waited. As we had hoped, they captured the resident female snow leopard, Gyamo, the queen of these mountains. And that was the last we saw of her.
I've been filming wildlife for the past 40 years and use films as a tool to push laws and policies in favor of some of the most endangered species of the planet. To truly understand the snow leopard and the challenges it faces today, it is imperative to understand the people who share its home. But today, we live on a broken planet.
It's going to be hard. The only way we can make this work is actually follow the ibex, follow the prey, and find the leopard. There. Can you see all those bug marks? We have 4 camera traps. So one over there, behind that rock that's already set up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great.
The planet is going through a troubled time.
We humans are making the world suffering.
There are more than 5,000 dogs in Leh alone. This is alarming.
This is the bull trap I was talking to you about.
Snow leopards are still being hunted across their range, some captured alive and hundreds others killed for their skins.
We still don't know how many snow leopards there are in Ladakh, which is a shame.
Finding Gyamo is the key. Even if there's a slim chance, we will have to take it.
And this was, so the film has done pretty well. People have liked it and enjoyed it. And what they remember the most is not the snow leopard, but they do remember this landfill, which I would assume is India's highest landfill. And Sultan took us there. Sultan is also a filmmaker. We mentioned him so many times. And it was a bit naive of us to not think that there would be a landfill in a city like Leh. It's just that it's the furthest thing from your mind, I suppose, because there's so much beauty around, and but it's very much there. It's very much still there. I believe there are efforts being made to shift it, but I think it has to be just a change in the way we are creating that garbage. The plastic, there is nowhere for it to go. They can only burn it. And I'm of the opinion, and then there was a conference that happened in Ladakh with the ministry and the government, and we went there, we showed them the landfill footage, and they are trying to clean it up and trying to, in fact, make it into a tourist spot. They want to grow stuff there and all of that. And I hope it starts that conversation of, single-use plastic should not be in places where there is no disposal, policy or method or technique or whatever you want to call it. And because it's huge, and in the film we talk about it, how just by being in Ladakh, we have all contributed to this pile. And this is just one corner of it. And it's extremely depressing. The air is toxic because, you can see a burnt patch on the left there. They're constantly burning stuff, and your lungs hurt within a minute of being there. And besides garbage, you see so much waste. Like there were like cartons and cases of unopened soda bottles. I don't know if they're expired or whatever. Eggs, hundreds of eggs, just crates of them just over there. Chickens, like a pile of chickens, and there were dogs there next to the chicken who weren't eating it because they were so full. That's the level of wastage to get the garbage part. And it's all tourism industry related. And the conversation did get started at this conference, and everyone is concerned about it. But I hope this concern, translates itself into something, because it is definitely very worrying. And then even in Hanle, there is an issue around Sokar Lake when we were there. And I'm sure you've been to Sokar as well. It's beautiful and pristine, and there is no garbage disposal method over there. There is a garbage truck that does rounds, So people dig holes and keep their garbage in it, but every time, and it's so windy over there, every time there's a big gust, and they even have those dust devils over there, it just picks up the garbage and just scatters it. So in the evening you can see all this shiny stuff. It's all plastic.
And even though it's so, not many tourists make it to Sopar, I think. It's still quite remote, but you could see the beginnings of this kind of, because now there are 4 or 5 camps there next to each other, little motels or whatever, and it is the beginning of this. I mean, we see this here in Goa as well. So it's obviously a national emergency with how we deal with our garbage. So, but especially like Gautam said, in Ladakh, it just becomes multiplied because there is nothing holding it in one place. It's just human habitation, and the landscape is just one, and it just gets flown everywhere.
That's the scale of it. That's a truck in the middle, if you can see it.
And I think our research found that 3 of these during high tourist season, 3 trucks, fully loaded trucks, empty themselves in this landfill for that entire summer tourism period. Which is,
at least I think it's gone up.
Yeah, this is obviously outdated. Should find out. So it's just tons and tons of garbage, and this is what has directly led to the feral dogs problem in Ladakh as well.
So we still want to tell these stories, but we want to tell them in more engaging ways, and where the impact is deeper and longer lasting. There's a shock value which works, but then you can only shock people to a certain time, for a certain time. Like, we are all quite immune to climate change talk, for example, of global warming or melting ice caps. We just heard it too many times. So this image is obviously not real, but this is our project which we are just finishing. I think in the next couple of days we'll finish it. Is to tell stories from the Himalayas with virtual reality, to make it much more immersive and to transport people, and if it's done right, it is transportive. If it's seen right, actually I should say, it's transportive, where you need this headset and you need headphones, and it's still new. We're experimenting with it, but we took the film back to Ladakh, and I showed it to a few people, and the reactions were amazing. I'll share that as well. These are some images with a 360 camera on a drone, and it's really fun. You can do some fun stuff with it as well. I mean, this is not how you see it in the headset. In the headset, it's more like that. This is you can get stills out of it. So this is called the Little Planet. Look, and that's the 360 camera we used. And then our big mission this time was to try and get wild snow leopards to come in front of this camera, in a 360 VR camera, and it just seemed impossible. I mean, there's no way, because these are not camera traps; they won't trigger by themselves. But we thought we'd figure it out as and when we got that opportunity, and we spent about 40 days filming all over. There were no opportunities at all. There was one rescued snow leopard. We thought we could maybe even put a green screen on the cage at the back and just have it walk past. We started thinking in those terms. And but we did get lucky, and I'll share that shot with you as well. So this is us climbing up to a ridge to place a regular camera trap that we had built, which Doel was talking about, with all this drilling and all of that. So this shot is also taken from a 360 camera, and you can see that little tiny marker up there on the mountain ridge. That's where we were climbing up. And then along the way, we saw some really amazing, signs of life springing out of the snow in spite of the cold. And I knew Doel would love this shot, so I took it for her. She has a special connection to liking, which takes
Yeah, because I just I feel as filmmakers it's so easy to get lost in trying to get this and that and the noise of it all, and but we are so lucky as people who tell stories about the natural world is we have constant reminders of humility around us, like if you just spend time looking while you're filming or just being on location, you see these tiny little things that you can observe, and they tell you just be humble and it's all going to be fine.
Yeah. And each one of these has a name in Ladakhi, which I don't remember, of course. I should have written it down. And each one of them has a use or medicinal property attached to it. And, will this knowledge stay? And how do we preserve it? I mean, and it has nothing to do with the snow leopard, except that it builds the habitat. It wasn't part of our film, but this is where you start wondering: are you saying enough? Are you doing a disservice by not talking about these other things? But there's just so much to talk about, so much to tell that we have to end up choosing sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find these fascinating. So then we reached this mountain ridge after a couple of hours of walking. It wasn't the worst climb in the world, but it was fine. Because what really works with AMS to acclimatizing, I found, is if you do really hardcore cardio for 2 weeks, and my acclimatization has become much faster. I used to get the worst headaches like each time, no matter what I did, and that doesn't happen anymore. So for 2 weeks, I'm like working out twice a day, 20-30 minutes each time, just getting my heart rate up. So we reached and we found this.
The tail is also brushed in these lights. The tail is.
I love how the tail slides in the snow.
All the way, hopefully, right towards the camera traps.
And that rock over there is where we decided to put our camera trap, because we smelt the rock and we found a little bit of fur also attached to it. So we figured that this is a point where it probably stops smell if we're lucky markets territory. So we started setting up camera traps over there. So you see those boxes, that's what you end up trying to just build yourself. It's just pelican cases, and you just drill holes in them, has to be the diameter of your lens. You make them nice and snug, and you need a trigger, which is infrared, to just hopefully work. They fail all the time, which is the most frustrating thing to do. So we placed 2 camera traps over there, because it takes almost the same amount of effort. It'd just be criminal to place only one and then it fails. So we set up 2, hoping that if not both, then at least one should work. And then you have to secure it, so you hide the cable, because a naughty fox or a marmot might come and chew it up and do whatever. And then and there were cubs in that area, so cubs are always playful. So we picked up the biggest rock we could and we placed it on top of it so that at least they don't knock it over. And that's the setup. And then we did some major jugaad, because after all these years of trying to get snow leopards in camera trap, everyone wants that daylight shot, with this beautiful mountain ridge at the back. But the chances of it coming and the camera trap working is, it's slim. So we only got a couple of daylight shots after all those years. So I worked out a jugaad to do a motion triggered light that could come on as well. And a fixed light, so it's not like a flash, but it would come in, it's an LED light, and I attached a solar charger to it as well. And because out of all the camera trap footage, 90% was at night or in the evening. So we figured that if we're going to get the shot, we need to have light on it. So you can see the light is on over there. And it worked. And we were really happy to see that he wasn't bothered by the light at all. So always a concern. And you can sort of see the mountain bridge at the back. Once we color grade it, the mountains will come out a bit more. And that he came, did his thing, and left. And this was with our Sony camera, so it was 4K footage. It was exactly what we wanted. It was like 4 years of, I think, trial and error to finally get this image to work. And then promptly after this, the camera trap started failing. But we got the shot. Yeah, it's super frustrating. So here I color graded a bit more, so you can see the mountain range at the back. And we got lucky, and there's an ibex skill that happens. We managed to place the same setup near an ibex skill, and I got some screen grabs from that as well. Here it is, the female ibex. You can see how big the ibex are actually compared to the snow leopard. And here's that lovely tail, one of the best tails out there, I think. So we went back with this, with the VR film, and we wanted the first people to see it were the people of Ladakh. And I wanted, because one of the films is in Ladakhi, narrated in Ladakhi, and that's an all-out conservation film. And it talks about all of the issues, especially the garbage, about changing climate. And I wanted to see how people respond to that in Ladakhi, and if in Ladakh, and if there was anything which I may have misrepresented, we may have misrepresented through that. And I think it was supremely gratifying to see how people received it. One lady started crying after she saw the landfill. She had nothing to say, actually. She just stuck her tongue out. She's like, and she's an old lady, so she'd like seen life. And she was just standing in silence. There was a guy, a Ladakhi guy from Gyamo. He saw the snow leopard sequence, and half an hour after he saw it, he got tears in his eyes, and he came back to me and he's like, I never thought I would see something like this in my life. I don't know what I'm feeling right now. And then he came back with his kids and his wife, and I showed it to them as well. So, it kind of helps. I mean, these things feel better than awards or, recognition, because you really feel that is worth something if you can touch someone and create a memory for them.
It's a set of 3 films that's on the Himalayan habitat.
The Himalayas, like they've never been seen before. Come experience the habitat, the wildlife, and the lives of the people who live here. In Cinematic 360 VR. Into the Himalayas. Coming soon in 360.
Trying to film a village, and before and after the snow, before it came in, and this beautiful man came, Meme, grandpa, and he had this amazing voice, and it's that penny drop moment where it is like, oh my god, I can suddenly see the film. He has to narrate the film. So, but which wasn't possible because the script had already been written. But he's like, okay, we have to write an entire scene. So we wrote a scene where the gentleman you see there, the Meme, who is telling his grandson a story of water.
Yeah.
And he said, if you don't take care of water, then the stream will disappear, because there's a fairy or there's a spirit that lives in the water, and so basically the grandson is throwing rocks and gobar and all these things in the water, and the spirit of the water, the jinn, gets really upset and says that you better stop doing it, because if you don't, I'll go away. And the boy didn't listen, and then he went away, the spirit went away, and then so did the river and the stream with it. So it's like, if you take care of water, the water will take care of you, was the lesson of the story. So we're trying to think of where we could have him sit and do this, and then and this is so typical Ladakh. Another lovely man came, he said, "Oh, do you want to see my room?" So I was like, okay. And you know how all the Ladakhi rooms are there. I was like, oh yeah, no, maybe. But he took us to this room, which was his original kitchen. It's over 100 years old, and it was just like whatever, time machine. So this is all these pots and pans. I'll try and zoom in over here. An old chula. It was just incredible to see, and it was freezing cold in this room, and this meme was just amazing. You see all these buttons. So we were hiding in this corner, but then we removed ourselves from that shot, obviously.
But it's quite amazing how all these stories that are probably, I don't know, hundreds or even 1,000 years old, and there is so much connection with nature, and and that oral history is kind of disappearing. We were in Nagaland recently, filming some stories of similar environmental stories there, and even there are these stories being told of how, and it's woven into the silks they weave, into the clothes they wear, and into agriculture and the crops they grow, the songs they sing when they are sowing a particular seed. There's so much knowledge in these stories, and that's incredible. And actually, that is quite sad. It's disappearing.
And this is the landfill and that plastic pile. And in 360, you can see that. So we placed the camera right in the middle of the pile this time. And there's a man over there who's picking bottles from there and sorting through the garbage. And that's the subtitles in 360, because it's being narrated in Ladakhi. It's actually Stanzin, Norbu's son, who's narrating it. And I gave him no choice. You are the one. And that's it. So you bang in the middle of the landfill here. I can almost smell it. That smoke. All the smoke you see is just from the burning garbage as well. And then we got our snow leopard shot, and this was really just pure luck. On literally the last day of the shoot, Norbu, who had called me that time, and he'd asked me that time, I said, what is your dream shot? And I said, female with cubs in the snow on an ibex kill. And I had gone that time and never got the shot. So he came on literally the last day of the shoot. He said, what is that thing you said you had wanted? I was like, and this is 4 years later. Like, female with cubs in the snow on an ibex kill. He's like, come with me. And we came, and there it was, very, very far away. So I was like, that is not filmable. Norbu, like the producer director in my head said. And then we took a breath and he said, okay, we can at least place camera trap, and let's try placing the 360 camera trap, because it was on a pretty high up. This was a tough climb, and we would have to trigger the camera from as far away as the wireless trigger would allow, which is normally about 300 meters. But for some reason, it worked to about 800 meters over here. Somehow, the signal would break, come back, break, come back. So literally, and there was nowhere to hide. So we were right at the bottom of the hill, and then walked further. There's only one rock over there. Because, from the footage, we could see that snow leopards can see really well from high up there. If you're walking around, they know people are walking around down there. So we were happy to have this one rock which I hid behind with just one hand up, almost like one hand with a phone coming out like that. And the signal would come and go, and then on the walkie-talkie, Babu said after about 20 minutes of waiting, so again there were failing light, battery going, and this Wi-Fi not working, and they're like,
Classic.
so you've just given up, you're at the mercy of fate. And then he came on the walkie-talkie, he said, "Wo hil rahi hai, she's moving," and the signal came on for a second. I just pressed record and it started rolling, and we got this shot of snow leopards in 360. One of those moments,
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you can't plan it. You can plan for it,
Yeah.
but there's no way to. And it was like a really pure wildlife moment. It just happened. We happened to be there. The camera happened to work. And we are lucky that we can share it with people in a way where it's not possible to actually experience something like that. You can't be next to a wild cat when it's on a kill. Like even on a hide, in a hide, you can't be this close to any animal, and this really gives it that special feeling. So I mean, this is the first 360 footage of wild snow leopards.
I mean, and you can do this, right, on 360. You can go close to it and look at what she's looking at.
Magical.
Really magical.
So we are all the way down there in the valley, like somewhere, like way invisible. That's the last house that we live. I'm sure. So people are there, and there's one rock which is beyond this ridge. I'm hiding somewhere there, that far away.
Well, it shows a lot for the camera. It's amazing that it worked. It just God wanted it to happen at that time. That's the key, isn't it? I mean, 4 years of filming and learning how to change your story along the way, and learning to look at things from an angle that you hadn't ever thought you would be doing when you started off on the journey. That's the incredible thing about filmmaking. So I just wanted to understand, how do you pick a location? How do you pick what animal you're going to work on? Because like you said, there's 1,000 stories out there. So how do you shortlist?
Wow. I think you don't shortlist. I think you are just open and talking to people all the time. And I think that's where it comes from. Like, you hear a story and you want to tell it. And so I think you're not shortlisting. I think you're just talking and meeting and keeping and being alert to what's happening in the world, and keeping yourself informed. And I think that's where I would say that's where the stories come from. I mean, the snow leopard journey began with
that grainy shot when you're looking for a lynx. But I think at any point there are a few ideas in our heads, like anyone, and a lot of times there is no funding or budget for it. So when we started the first snow leopard thing, it was just all self-funded. Whenever we could pull out money from another project or time allowed, go try, film, come back and keep seeing it, exploring it. If there's a story. So like we're working on bears now, brown bears, and I've been a few times. That's also taken about 5 years to find the right location, and but there's no funding for it. So we're now in the pitching process and re-pitching it. And broadcasters is, it's a business, right? So if they've already got 2 bear films, they're like, oh, we don't need a 3rd bear film. Or this year we want only, cute animals, right? So no matter how important it is.
You actually have someone saying, we only want cute animals?
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Because it's all entertainment by the end of it. And that's the reality of it. It has to be entertaining enough, even if it's conservation. So now we're trying to figure out a way of doing comedy and conservation together. And that might be an experiment. And this lockdown is perfect for it. To release them.
Fantastic.
I think maybe also urgency of something.
Yeah.
Actually, urgency of something that's happening. You want to tell that story, and that leads you to the next thing. This is the big idea question, right? Which doesn't really have an answer.
Yeah.
Where do ideas come from?
Yeah. Which comes first, funding or the idea?
But I think at the end of the day, it's also, I mean, after you've heard everything and thought about it, it's your gut that tells you, right, which one to pick and which one to go after. And I think there's no explanation for it or something that you can, write down on a piece of paper like a formula for people to follow.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's a combination of access, resources that you can spend, people you know.
So I'll show this to you. Can you see it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is in Gyamo, the film. When we go up, and it's there in the trailer, that shot where I'm pointing, saying you place the camera trap here, 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 and we climb for hours on this beautiful mountain ridge.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened over there, but we didn't put it in the film. So I should explain. So we found a pug mark, and it looked like it had just been there. I got like majorly excited. Like, oh my god! Don't move! No, it has to be here. We'll quickly place the camera trap, and then I found this wet patch over there. It's like it peed. It marked its territory, it left a wet patch, and so that's the patch I'm pointing to over there. So I went down, I sniffed it. The audio is bad. There was a Ghorawala with us who was helping us carry some stuff. It was his pee. While we were excited and looking at the bug mark, he had gone and taken a little pee over there, and he wasn't even telling me for the longest time. I mean, I was sniffing it. He was standing and watching me, wondering why I'm.
Yeah.
There he is.
Oh my god!
You're really sunburned there.
So, and then we just put this shot in there.
I mean, talking about ideas and putting them together, I mean, we had this bank of footage, and then all the footage of Mike and Gautam you see in Gyamo is actually was filmed in, so we built the story, wrote the script, built a structure, and we went back for 10 days and did all of that filming in one go, and then plugged it in together into making the structure. So that was actually really fun. That was, and that's something I think filmmakers, as filmmakers, I really enjoy. Is once the shooting is done, is looking at it and stitching it together.
But there's satisfaction, huh? I mean, at the end of it, when you actually manage to finish the film, what a feeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it goes on air, and then it's over.
It's over, then you put it away and you get on with your next amazing option.
Build up and it's over fast.
So what are you working on now? Which species are you working on? Which part of the world?
So right now Doel is busier than I am. I've got a new lens, probe lens, so I'm busy looking for dead bugs and insects, and I've got caterpillars in the Kadi Patta. Doel is busy working on a environmental, leaning more on the environmental side, travel show. So you can do a travel show differently.
Yeah, no, that is it's a 13-part series on Northeast, and Mike is hosting it. So we were filming last year, unbelievable now, but we were filming in November and December in the Northeast. So doing the post for that now. It's a 13 episode, all the states of the Northeast, and we're trying to tell stories of conservation in it, but from a travel angle. So while people go to these beautiful, amazing places, and they're still quite, intact, some of them. So how can they go informed and travel responsibly? So interesting, and trying to break some stereotypes of how we perceive people who live in the Northeast and what their aspirations are and what their lives are. So a lot of those stories are from their perspective. So some stories are told by Mike and some stories are being told by people from themselves.
Not to exoticize the culture, the food, things like that.
So quite fun, yeah. So we should be done. We're doing it all remote now, which is quite exciting. Editing remotely with the editors in Delhi, and I'm here, but it's fun. It's going to be exciting. The stories are incredible.
It sounds it. I love the Northeast in any case, so I think it's magical to just get anything out of that part of the world because it's a wonderland.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So it's a good title for the series, Wonderland.
Well, there you go. What up?
Yeah, the incredible stories of Looked Up, which I first came to mind because just edited that, and the habitat there, and just ties it in with this whole what we did with the snow leopards as well. I mean, so Looked Up is the lake, and right next to it is Kebulamjao.
Yeah.
One of the most incredible places I think
it's on my bucket list. I keep saying I need to go there and I never make it, but I'm going to go there one of these days. I have friends who are doing research there, so I really do want to go back there.
Beautiful. Go with enough time because it's really vast and very difficult to spot the sunlight, but it's stunning. It's beautiful, and how it's linked the forest and the people who are living on the lake. So that came out, filtered out everywhere we went, is that all the forests and people, it's just also interconnected, and there is no way of telling these stories without that connection now.
Lots of ideas, and we can talk about this forever, but tell me something. I mean, when you go out filming, how big a crew do you normally go with? Are you filming normally alone? How does it work?
Depends. So the time when I went in that hide, I was alone. For Gyamo, we were 10 people. But we had 2 camera teams, and for that time, for all the wildlife stuff, it was only me and then an assistant to help me, and possibly a third person, usually local, to help with sharing the driving or just kind of translating stuff or whatever it might be. The larger group came in and we were doing all the bits with Dad and me. And since we had only 10 days, since the budget would allow only that, we knew we had to shoot as much as we could. So optimize that time. So if we had one camera shooting us, we sent the second one to go film the village, finish that, come back, take some more shots with us. And for the Northeast travel?
Northeast was a bigger crew because it was just, but I think an ideal crew is about, for these kind of documentaries, is about 4 people. A director, a DOP who's filming, and in our case, usually director is also filming, so 2 cameras end up filming. A sound recordist, I think, is really key, and an assistant to help, do extra shots, or, I mean, these are tough locations, so you really need to spend a lot of time at the end of the day maintaining your equipment and keeping it in shape for the next day. So an assistant, a camera person, a director, and a sound recordist, I think makes for a good team.
For wildlife, the leaner the better.
And are you going back to do the links still?
Yes, it's back. It's back in my.
A friend of mine and I are planning to go on a links trip as well. We're on this, and I'll connect you. He's also doing one of these series. Stuart Chapman. He's actually got this goal to see all of the cats in the world, and I think he's on species 25 at the moment.
Wow!
Yeah, well,
with your luck, he'll probably see all of them.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing I think I've realized now. It feels like some people are just lucky. maybe their energy or something, but they're just luckier than others. It's good to tag with them.
So we have to tag along together. Hopefully the lockdown will lift and we can actually get back into the jungles and make some more films. See you soon, and thank you for doing this. It's just been fantastic. Thank you both. It was just marvelous. Thank you.
Thank you, Latika. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Inculcate these values in children at the right age, it'll hold them to life. You and I will always remember the visits we went on with our dads, right?